The silent priority alert came through at 3:12 in the afternoon. I was sitting in a restricted briefing room in Phoenix, Arizona, 4 floors underground, watching live financial trace overlays tied to a human trafficking laundering corridor running through El Paso. My phone didn't ring, it didn't vibrate, it just flashed a single red icon: Perimeter Breach, Sector 3, Home Office. I didn't react, no spike of adrenaline, no outward sign at all. I excused myself from the table, stepped into the concrete hallway, and opened the secure feed. The image was flawless, military-grade clarity. Standing in the center of my Scottsdale penthouse living room was not a burglar. It was my sister, Madison. She was wearing an ivory satin dress and holding a thermal cutting tool I recognized instantly. Industrial grade, the kind you don't buy legally, the kind designed to melt through biometric locks without triggering internal heat sensors. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight to my office wall, pressed against the false panel, and revealed the hidden safe. 4 seconds. That's all it took. The magnesium coil burned through the locking pins. The door dropped open. She reached inside and removed the only item stored there, a brushed steel drive, heavy, rectangular, unmarked. To anyone else, it looked like a premium cold storage crypto wallet. She held it up toward the camera, smiled without warmth, and mouthed 2 words: "Found it." Then she turned and walked out. She didn't know she'd just activated a silent federal warrant. She didn't know the device wasn't a wallet. It was a ledger, and she had just removed active evidence from a Faraday-sealed environment tied to a federal RICO investigation. I tapped my screen once. Protocol 0 initiated. I went back into the briefing room, picked up my jacket, nodded once to the room, and left. Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from right now. I want to know who's part of this quiet circle. I didn't call her. I didn't warn my parents. I walked into the garage, got into my government-issued black SUV, and headed north. Madison's engagement party was in 3 hours. Paradise Valley, my parents' estate. The GPS said I'd arrive just as the champagne was being poured. As I merged onto the interstate, I activated a silent tag on the drive. A single red dot appeared on my dashboard display, moving steadily east. She was driving the evidence straight to the party. Driving has always been where my mind sharpens. The low hum of the tires, the sealed cabin, the isolation. To my family, I was Evelyn, the dull one, the IT consultant, the sister who fixed routers and worked with spreadsheets. They didn't know about the credentials in my glove compartment. They didn't know my consulting trips were forensic extractions and cartel audits. They believed what benefited them: a quiet woman in neutral clothes who lacked Madison's shine, her confidence, her attention. But silence isn't weakness, it's conditioning. I learned that early. When you grow up invisible, you learn to disappear on purpose. You learn to listen. You learn that people reveal everything when they don't believe you matter. I spent 18 years mastering stillness, how to walk without sound, how to read faces, how to detect lies before words formed. Federal training didn't give me those skills. My family did. They just never realized they were teaching me how to become dangerous. I checked the tracker again. The dot stopped. Estate driveway. I pictured it instantly. White tents, string lights, a live quartet. My mother, Diane, adjusting napkins. My father, Harold, holding court with a glass of bourbon, speaking loudly about markets he barely understood. And Madison, glowing at the center of it all, telling guests how she'd saved the venue at the last minute. None of them knew what was coming down that drive. I called my deputy director. I didn't ask for permission. I delivered a report. Asset compromised, location confirmed, requesting tactical intercept. Authorization Delta 7. His voice was steady. Teams mobilizing from the regional office. 40-minute ETA. Do not engage before perimeter lock. I hung up. I wasn't going to a party anymore. I was approaching a crime scene, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to fade into the background. I was going to become unforgettable. "You're late," my mother said the moment she saw me. "And honestly, Evelyn, look at you. You're dressed like you're attending a deposition, not your sister's engagement party. Couldn't you try to look happy for once?" I stopped in front of her and really looked. The tightness around her mouth, the restless movement of her hands. She knew. She knew Madison had stolen the drive. She just didn't care. "I'm here," I said calmly. "Where is Madison?" "She's busy," my mother snapped. "Being celebrated. Try not to ruin it. People are watching." She pressed a glass of champagne into my hand and turned away mid-sentence, laughter already reactivated for the guests behind her. I took one sip. It was warm. I set the glass onto a passing tray and scanned the tent. Madison stood near the head table, laughing into her fiancé Lucas's shoulder. She looked radiant, victorious, and sitting right beside her clutch, completely exposed, was the drive. Not hidden, not disguised, displayed like a prize. The anger that formed in my chest wasn't because she stole from me, it was because she was so certain she'd never face consequences. I started toward her. My father intercepted me, gripping my shoulder with practiced authority. His breath carried bourbon and impatience. "Evelyn," he said, forced cheer in his voice, "your mother says you're upset about the borrowing. We'll handle it later. Don't cause a scene. It's family money anyway. We all share." That word, borrowing. I looked at his flushed face and understood something with terrifying clarity. They didn't see me as separate. I was a storage unit, a utility. My space, my resources, my boundaries. Communal property to be accessed when Madison needed saving. This is enmeshment, a form of control where individuality is erased to preserve the illusion of harmony. In their minds, nothing had been stolen. Assets had simply been reallocated, from the quiet one to the valuable one. I gently removed my father's hand from my shoulder and kept walking. The music faded. Madison tapped her glass with a spoon. "Thank you all for coming. There were some last-minute issues with the venue deposit, but thanks to a very generous contribution from my sister Evelyn, everything worked out." Applause erupted. Heads turned in my direction. Madison blew me a kiss. My mother nodded proudly. I stood still, surrounded by lies. I glanced at the drive, then at my phone. 6 red markers closed in around the perimeter. I stepped forward, reached across the table, and picked up the drive. Silence fell instantly. Madison's smile cracked. "What are you doing?" she whispered sharply. "Put that back." I turned to the crowd, holding the drive where the light caught its cold surface. "This isn't a gift," I said. My voice was quiet, controlled. The voice I use when decisions carry consequences. "This is federal evidence." Madison laughed, brittle and unsure. "Oh my God, Evelyn, stop. It's just old crypto. Mom said you weren't even using it." I placed my phone on the table and tapped once. The slideshow screens flickered, replacing childhood photos with a live thermal feed of the estate. Heat signatures glowed inside the tent. Cold shapes moved outside, closing in. That drive contains decryption keys tied to a multi-state laundering operation. It was seized 3 days ago. It is currently one of the most tracked objects in the country. The color drained from her face. Chairs scraped. My parents stood abruptly. My father's voice broke the silence. "Turn that off," he shouted. "What is wrong with you? You're frightening people." I didn't look at him. I looked at my sister. "By removing that drive from a Faraday-sealed environment and transporting it here, you didn't just steal from me," I said. "You activated a homing signal visible to federal agencies and criminal partners actively searching for it. This isn't petty theft. It's obstruction of a federal investigation and terrorism financing." The air vanished from the tent. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was reality. "We just needed the money," Madison whispered. "Mom said you wouldn't care." My mother stepped forward, fury etched into her face. "You did this," she hissed. "You brought danger into this family." I shook my head once. "No, I just stopped shielding her from consequences." I touched my earpiece. "Protocol 0 confirmed. Suspect in possession. Proceed." The lights cut out. A second of darkness. Then flashbangs detonated outside. White light. Screams. Canvas ripped open as tactical teams poured in, weapons trained, commands shouted. Chaos swallowed the celebration. Crystal shattered. Guests dropped. I didn't move. I watched my father crawl beneath a table, clutching a napkin like a shield. Agents surged forward. Madison tried to flee, tripped over her dress, and was tackled onto the lawn. Her face hit the grass. Zip ties snapped tight around her wrists. "That's my daughter!" my mother screamed, lunging forward. She was restrained immediately. The lead agent entered. Miller. We'd worked together before. He nodded once. "Situation?" "Suspect recovered with compromised evidence," I said evenly. "Chain of custody breached. Secure the asset." Madison looked up at me, mascara streaked, voice breaking. "Tell them it was a mistake. I'm your sister." I looked at her, then at my parents, then back to Miller. "I don't have a sister," I said. "Process her." They took her away. The aftermath unfolded quietly. The engagement ended. The fiancé released a statement. Sponsorships vanished overnight. My parents were indicted. Texts proved everything. The estate was seized. I didn't attend the hearings. 3 weeks later, I was promoted. Higher clearance, broader authority. I returned to the empty house once. Furniture gone. Dust floating in sunlight. I left my key on the counter and walked out. That night, back in my penthouse, I received a letter from detention. I didn't open it. I burned it. Some people mistake silence for weakness. They learn too late that silence is restraint, and restraint, once removed, is final. If this story stayed with you longer than the video itself, don't walk away. Subscribe. This channel is for people who actually feel what they hear. And if this resonated with you, comment below and share this with someone who needs to hear it.